Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Himani, Ryan, Anjani, Shunondo, thank you so much for being with us today on this rainy Tuesday afternoon. I really appreciate it. Thank you, friends from Microsoft, HP, Yota, and of course, ET and Deloitte. As you all know, that the topic for today's conversation is AI and the rising opportunity around data centers and cloud, and what can we do to make sure that India is sort of up there when it comes to being matching in terms of the global race that AI has spawned. So let me start with some statistics. I was just going through a report that Deloitte has launched in a partnership with Niti Aayog, and it said that the AI opportunity is somewhere around 20 to 22 billion by 2027. But the another statistics that caught my attention was that while India has about 20% of hosts 20% of the data that the country generates, data centers is only about 3%. That tells us there's a huge gap when it comes to the infrastructure needs that the country requires. So let me open up this conversation by going to you, Himani, first, and asking you that, when it comes to AI, what is the opportunity that Microsoft sees requires? So let me open up this conversation by going to you, Himani, first, and asking you that, when it comes to AI, what is the opportunity that Microsoft sees when it comes to AI in the country?
I think we are really at the cusp of transformation and innovation in the country. The leadership that the country has taken and the opportunity that we see for country to be the developed country by 2047, as we're saying, I think AI will play very, very important part in that transformation and acceleration that is there. And when you talk about AI, it is, as you said, that it's only 3% of the infrastructure that's available in the country, but that's just one element of it. The AI innovation and acceleration in the country will be driven by multiple things. One, of course, the basic infrastructure being available, but on top of it, it is also about how are we getting our people ready? How are we really getting people across the supply chain of people that have to work, whether it is the developers, whether it is the users, across government, across industries, across students, etc. How are the ecosystems being created with the partnerships, etc. So all of these elements will need to come together to really get onto the vision that Prime Minister has crafted for the country, and I really believe AI will be one of the biggest catalysts for that.
Right. Talking about Microsoft and the opportunity, like you said, there are multiple aspects to this. Do you want to talk a little bit about, what kind of demand do you see right now in the country? What are the top areas in which Microsoft is focusing on?
Sure. So if you look at the demand in the country, it is across the board, across the enterprises that you see, whether it is the global enterprises, the global or local, ranging from across every industry, whether it is financial services, manufacturing, healthcare, education, IT-enabled services, across the industries that you see, and the size of the customers as well. Whether you talk about the small and medium businesses to the largest of the enterprise, to the NGOs, to the government, across the board you see. And in each of these organizations as well, it's across the functions and the departments. It's not restricted just to a particular type of work that is being done. Whether you talk about the AI-enabled supply chains, you talk about the AI-enabled clinicians across different customers and industries. So it's across the board, and we really focusing across the board again. Whether you have classrooms to boardrooms, or farms to financial services, or education to healthcare, across the board we are focusing on it.
Sure. Classrooms to boardrooms and farms to financial services. That's a very nice way to put it. Going over to you, Ryan, HP has been a big sort of player in this space for a long, long time, right? From your lens, what are the opportunities that this space is giving?
I think I couldn't agree more with what Himani said. We are seeing opportunities across the board, right? For one, we are actually seeing a lot of opportunity with government. If you look at all the digital initiatives that government has taken, of course, the AI mission is only now, but it's not new, right? There's so many, initiatives from the government. I think that has driven demand, number one. It has driven a lot of enterprises who, wanted to wait and watch to now go on the digital bandwagon. If you just look at, just take one initiative, just take UPI or Aadhaar. the ecosystem it created and the adoption that you saw across the board, we are seeing a lot of opportunities there, right? So for us, apart from everything that Himani said, and I won't repeat that, but we are also seeing government. Number two, education. So the research hubs, your IITs, your IISc, engineering colleges, a lot of these, they are actually churning out what is going to drive the next wave of innovation, right? So we are seeing education as a huge opportunity. From a data centers and AI standpoint, I think very quickly we are starting to see edge data centers, tier 3 cities, right, coming in now, looking at, because connectivity now, we've got over 1 billion subscribers. Every city, every town is now covered. So with them on the digital bandwagon, I think we are seeing everywhere. So it is across the board, but largely over and above what Himani said, I would add government and education. I think those are the biggest ones that we
Sure, sure. Thank you, Ryan, for saying that, how government is a big opportunity. And of course, we'll touch upon that entire edge data centers and how tier 2, tier 3 cities are a big opportunity. In fact, we've just run a very huge feature today talking about that particular opportunity. Going over to you, Anjani, we touched upon the report that Deloitte did with Niti Aayog. Do you want to talk about what are sort of the actionable points that you see? How are you taking it forward?
So, what we are seeing is that India's taken tremendous strides as far as setting up of the infrastructure is concerned. But if we want to become the data center hub of the world, or even APAC, there are clearly some friction elements that need to be reduced both at the central level as well as the state government level. So when we did this report, we looked at 6 pillars across which there have to be specific interventions, some at the state level, some at the central level, some with academia, some with corporates, some with academic institutions. So we've identified those 6 pillars, and typically those 6 pillars that we've identified are, one is real estate. So today, if you look at getting land for data center, takes anywhere between 18 to 24 months. It takes about 40 approvals. So can we centralize that? Can we have a single point of contact where all the approvals are given? Similarly, under the National Building Commission, data centers probably need a different category because, in a data center with 100,000 square feet, you only have 6 people. You don't need 100 parking spaces, which otherwise the National Building Commission talks about. So some of those changes have to be done from a real estate perspective. The second is power and utilities. The data centers are extremely power hungry. And the idea is across the world, we are seeing data centers move to renewable. In India today, at best, a data center will have 40-50% of renewable power. How can we make sure that it goes all the way up to 70, 80, and even 100%? So, investments in the grids, investment in renewable power next to data center locations. So those are, again, some of the recommendations on the power and utilities. The third is connectivity. While the connectivity in a place like Mumbai, Calcutta, any of the metros is very strong, but the moment you start going into the internal areas, and you spoke about the feature that Economic Times did today about getting into some of those hinterland areas, the connectivity starts breaking down. So if you're setting up a data center in the hinterland, you will have to invest multiple times to get double, triple backups, so that connectivity isn't lost. So there are some interventions that need to be done on connectivity. The fourth area is around compute. And compute is, the GPUs is at the heart of it. And unfortunately, in India, we are only importing GPUs. We aren't yet making those. So from a resource perspective, from a customs duties perspective, what can be done? So that's another area. The fifth area is around talent. Again, if you look at data centers, they require very specific talent, very unique talent for managing data centers, setting up data centers. It's not talent that's easily available, right? And then if you go across the entire stack in terms of AI models, you still need to get that talent. And finally, we've talked about enabling policy changes that need to be made. So for example, there are certain rules where if you're just hosting data in India, you're a foreign company hosting data in India, one interpretation of the Income Tax Act could be that you create a permanent establishment in India, right? So if we have to get a lot of export revenues, and here I make parallels with the BPO industry, right? Basically the BPO industry, the IT industry in the early 2000s, late 90s grew up on export business. Now data centers is not just a business for India, but we can get significant amount from exports. And what we've shown in the report India is amongst the cheapest places in the world, both from developed countries and developing countries' perspective, to set up a data center.
Shunal, talking, about sovereign AI, right? That's a very big conversation that right now we are having in India with the whole India AI mission, and Yota is a big part of it in terms of supporting with GPUs. What are your thoughts on how important is sovereign AI for India's entire AI story?
Okay, so sovereign AI is actually the central pillar on which the entire India mission initiative is based on. What the government essentially is focusing on is 2 or 3 key pillars. One is we should have our sovereign models, and it's one of very unique scenarios. The government is funding development of these models, because otherwise the private entities were not seeing value in just going out and building foundational models. So we already have Sarvam building a model. We have 3 more software companies which are lined up to start doing that. Now this is very critical because the data sets in India are very unique, and therefore the kind of models which will finally lead to solutions for masses, for industries, will come out from those data sets and from these sort of India focused models. So that's why the development of these sovereign LLMs is very critical. So if you look at the whole AI journey since it became mainstream a couple of years back when ChatGPT came out, India has sort of been a laggard till now. Apart from the government, the enterprise sector has been a slow adopter of AI solutions. Yes, the regular bringing it into customer success, into few processes is there, but nothing really path-breaking. What I foresee is that with these models coming up, and then all these models, because it's 100% government funded, they'll be open source. The government has already announced that. So based on these models, near solutions, near use cases will be addressed, and that will really lead to the next leapfrog for the industry in general, for all the government initiatives in general, and that's where the scale up will happen.
I was just thinking that, if the issue is that clients are not sort of adopting it en masse, and they are focusing more on in terms of the cost optimizations, and should we really be worrying about supply first? Because if demand comes, and supply will all sort of automatically take care of itself, or should we first build the supply and then let demand follow? Start with you, Shanando.
Okay, so Yota exactly did that. We built the supply much before anybody else. If you look at before Yota came into the whole AI play, people had deployed 100, 200, 500 GPUs, and we straight away said we'll do 16,000 GPUs, and we created that. And yes, we went through a challenging phase because of that, because adoption was slow, and yeah, most of the adoption happened from outside. But it's a conundrum which somebody has to sort of hold and push forward, because until unless that supply is available, because building up an AI infrastructure facility takes a lot of time. We're talking about major change in scale of data centers. Any data center which has been built more than 4 or 5 years back is designed at a 10 kilowatt per rack kind of capacity, and with H100s hoppers we are seeing 40 kilowatts, with Blackwells we are seeing 120 kilowatts, going up to a megawatt a rack. That's the future we are seeing with NVIDIA chips in the next 5 to 7 years. So the whole power to space equation for a data center player will change rapidly. Most of the legacy data centers are not even designed to do that. So even for Yota which is one of the latest entrants in the market, to reorient the data center, bring in that kind of power to achieve that 4x more power per rack, it took some time. So if the demand comes and the infrastructure is not there, there'll be a huge challenge. So I think some people have to take that pioneering step of building that infrastructure. We are the first to bring in hoppers at scale. We are the first to now bring in Blackwell at scale in India. So that's there, and we are betting big that the demand is just waiting around the corner, and this year, as I said, would be the inflection point for that.
Sure. Himani, coming to you, I think Microsoft already has 3 data center regions in India, and another one, large one, in fact, in Hyderabad is on the cards. So you probably are seeing a very, very solid reason for you to expand in a massive way. Do you want to talk about it?
So we have 5 regions already. So 3 are Microsoft Public Azure and 2 Geo Azure regions. And yes, you said it right, one of the big one which is on the way. And you rightly said that, hey, it is both supply and demand equation that is there. And it is a lot of partnerships also that we're working on. For an example, Yota was one of the big strategic partnership that we created to address the needs in India, the AI India mission specifically with Shakti Cloud, which is sovereign AI platform that is there. So it's being now integrated with Azure AI services to bring in that whole real-time applications, low latency, etc. that's there. So absolutely investment in the infrastructure which is on the way directly in partnership with other players, etc. But it is also about it cannot be sequential. Demand is rising and will keep rising very fast. Supply is being built, but as I said earlier, there are many other elements which need to be put in place, and that's where we're focusing a lot, whether it is skilling, whether it is the innovations and the early adopters that are there. All of that needs to be put in place right in the beginning and in parallel to the demand creation.
When you say early adopters, do you mean startups? Which is obviously, I think, historically Microsoft has been very big on startups.
Yeah. So startups and the digital natives is, of course, one of the pioneers who actually believe in, because they were born in tech, born in cloud kind of organizations, they really adopted fast, but actually believe in, because they were born in tech, born in cloud kind of organizations, they really adopted fast. But it is, as I said, not just restricted to that, but a lot more like across the industries. I don't think that any industry is shying away from not taking that plunge into AI. But absolutely, as Ryan said, that it's just the tip of the iceberg that we have scratched. There is so much more to do, and the country is getting ready for that.
Sure. So like you said, the country is getting ready for that, and we have to be absolutely prepared because demand, like Ryan said and others said, is lurking around the corner. So Ryan, moving on to you, what are the state and sort of central level interventions that we need to be prepared for this oncoming demand?
So I think both central and state governments have made some good, initiatives already. I think we know AI mission. We've seen the entire digital initiative. I think that's, from a central government standpoint, that has already, enabled a lot of demand. I think state governments have picked the queue. You've seen there are 7, 8 state governments who already have data center policies. They have already got AI strategies, etc., etc. So one thing that possibly, if somebody were to ask me, I would say scale and speed, right? They're the two things that we need to, because when you compare us with any of the other countries, right, there is a lot more we have which can drive a lot more. Somewhere we have to get out of this wait and watch mode, right? So I think you see wherever a lot of these countries which have succeeded in digital per se, AI is just the latest, is where government has become the largest customer for that technology, right? So it's not just enabling, but the moment you take, for example, UPI, it was in a certain way enforced on a lot of us, but look at what it did, right? So the moment if the government becomes the largest user across departments, if everything starts getting AI driven, automatically every enterprise will start having a much more speedy adoption. So I think that is what state and central governments need to do. They need to infuse that need to become and adopt AI quicker by becoming one of the largest users for AI. If you look at a lot of, let's say, for example, even our driving license as an example, right? While a lot of it is automated, still you will see that it requires manual interventions.
How would you like to summarize, if I were to ask you that what is it that the one thing that you want from the government, from the industry, to make sure that this gap that we have right now is filled?
No, I think government has done its part through India mission, and these initiatives continue. As these LLMs get built and these models come out, it's about for the industry to take the next step and adopt them and build on top, innovate on top of these models and take it. So the potential in India, especially with agentic AI, is population scale. And we're talking about 1 billion agents acting out there and delivering solutions right across the stratas. So it's very important now this next year of adoption happens in the second half of the year once these models come around. That's the expectation.
Himani, how would you like to summarize?
I would say silicon to skill. If you look at it, it's an ecosystem play, and everything is coming together. Government is doing its bit, infrastructure providers are doing its bit, the innovation is happening, but it is on all the consumers, whether it is the government, whether it is the commercial establishments, schools, colleges, education, whatever you have. Everyone needs to really believe in the impact of AI, need to go all in so as to really reap the benefit of it and make that leap forward to get the country on the accelerated pace.
Sure. Ryan.
Two perspectives. I completely agree that I think government has done more than its bit to kickstart this. We are, after all, in the top 5 AI powers in the world. I think the only thing, like I mentioned earlier, if government can start using AI a lot more for its own departments, I think it kind of accelerates overall. From an enterprise standpoint, I think AI is a journey. Customers need to understand exactly how they are going to also monetize, because that's the biggest stumbling block for every enterprise to adopt AI, right? And the way to monetize is by actually having a much broader deployment of AI rather than just point solutions. So look at platforms, follow examples that the government has set. They've done UID, they've done Aadhaar, they've created platforms. You've seen what an ecosystem, how fantastically it has grown. That's a fantastic example to replicate at an enterprise level, right? You create a platform across the enterprise, you bring in intelligence from everywhere into one place, cross leverage that, time to market, revenues grow, right? So I think those are the 2 points fundamentally that I would make.
Anjani, what are your asks?
So I think if you were to ask me my wish list, if we look at the entire AI stack, starting from GPUs and hardware, cloud, LLMs, AI services, and AI products, I think across the mid part of the stack, which is the LLMs and the AI services and the cloud, I think we are there. I think at the bottom, which is the hardware, the networking, I think that's where I wish we are a lot more indigenous and self-sustaining. And also at the top end of the stack, the AI products. So think about an Alexa, think about a ChatGPT, think about a Gemini, think about an OpenAI. These are all AI products. And I think I make that parallel to India becoming a leader in IT services, but somehow missing the IT products bus. So my wish would be that from an AI product standpoint, we don't miss that bus. I think we'll be very good at AI services. I think there's no doubt in my mind, just with the kind of talent we have and the kind of services mindset we have. But if we can also add AI products coming out of India, more and more AI products coming out of India, and it could be a combination of software and hardware together, or it could just be software products. But that layer, if we can master that and we can get to leadership position in the world, I think that would be top of my wish list.
Great point. So I'll probably end this conversation by saying that some of my key takeaways have been that while government is sort of telling us all to adopt AI, yet there is a bit of caution when it comes to AI, because if we look at their own report, when it what was that report that they come out with, the economic survey, right? They had a little bit of a caution baked in there when they said that we have to be a bit cautious, but at the same time, they have the dual challenge of making sure that India is far ahead in the AI race. So somewhere they need to sort of take a stand, walk the talk, and like Anjani said, have a little bit more focus on AI products and not just services. This is what take India far ahead. Thank you so much for joining us in this conversation today. I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. Thank you once again. Thank you, everyone.
Very much.
Thank you.